go into my sort of non-spoiler review here. I'll try to keep it spoiler free as much as possible in terms of story, content, and anything like that. Just want to give my final thoughts on the game overall and anything like that, because let's just be honest, there was plenty of times through my stream and playthrough I'm like, this game's a 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10, you know, for this reason or that and the other. And and that was my personal feelings, you know, about it, but I have to be critical of the game as well too, so gonna go into that side of things as well. But this game does so many things right, so many things, and it's kind of hard, you know, on where to start, because, you know, it has great music, great graphics, great gameplay, great characters, great story, like everything. It just nails it. There are flaws, but it nails a lot of things. There are flaws, don't get me wrong. So I guess let's start with the music, because good lord, man, I commend the dev team for this. Oh my god, the music in this game, man, it, like, you're listening to it right now as sort of the backdrop here, and the music in this game is setting a tone for everything and does such a great job. It calms things down at the right moment and then hypes them up. Like in the beginning, you know, you're getting off the train, you know, most of us have played a demo. If you have not already, please play the demo. You know what I'm talking about. And it just jumps right in, like with the action, with the music and like that. It ramps it up and then, you know, calms down certain moments and whatnot, and helps with the emotional tone of this game as well too. Because man, this game, let's be real, this game is an emotional train wreck or thrill ride or emotional roller coaster, however you want to put it, all that and more. And it does such a great job with the characters like that, and the music just gets you into it even more so, hypes you up, and just makes you feel for these characters more, makes you feel for the story more. So they did a superb job on the music. I even have the soundtrack as part of the collection, and I've been listening to that thing, man. I've been listening to FF7 Remake music like almost every day now. Well, a piece of it anyway. Because I can't get it out of my head. I can't. So, you know, it's like I was saying, like 10 out of 10 during my streams because of the music alone. That's one aspect. Let's go into graphics and visuals and presentation here overall. Like, good God, the visuals, like, they were not playing around on this game when it comes to its graphics. You know, I'm glad they locked it at 30 FPS 1080p. I feel like it needed to be that. It did not need to be any higher. And, you know, the areas, the levels design and stuff like that, as far as visuals, you know, there were some issues as far as texture issues when kind of loading in sometimes, but not too much. But the character animations, you know, the people, the dialogue, all that good stuff, for the most part, top notch. Cloud has never looked better. Sephiroth has never looked better. Aerith, all these characters have never looked better that I can think of, because yeah, they're way better than Advent Children. Oh my god. And any other media that they've been in, that just looks so good. I did notice a few like lip syncing issues here and there, but not too much. I think they've updated at this point now enough to where it's like not really an issue. But dialogue is on point. Dialogue is amazing, and I don't just mean just the dialogue with the main characters. No, I'm talking about like with the NPCs. Like the dialogue when you talk to NPCs in like the slums and the cities and stuff like that is so fantastic. Like each person's got at least, you know, 2 or 3 lines of dialogue, and that changes as the story progresses. You know, you see the ripple effects of what you do in the game, how they affect the people, you know. And that's just like, whoa, oh my god. Like, it helps make this game feel like a more of like a real, like, lived in experience, a real place. And man, like, it went beyond my expectations on that, to be honest, because you feel like this world's been really lived in, and you get a sense of feel as far as like, what are these people going through, you know, on both sides, not just, you know, people in the slums where Seventh Heaven is and like that. You get a feel for what, you know, people that work for Shinra are going through, people that have family members working for Shinra and stuff like that. And, you know, like, this is, it's just emotional. Gets you into it and makes you feel like, dang, whoa. And with these both factions and groups went out with Avalanche and Shinra, neither one are 100% good or bad. They're, you know, this is just like the original where they play up on how both basically are gray or in the gray, essentially. Where both are trying to do things for their, you know, what they believe are the right reasons and whatnot. Shinra obviously being more, taking more evil tactics and whatnot, or sneaky tactics and whatnot. But you're basically like in the first original game, you know, Avalanche is basically eco-terrorists. Like you're basically kind of playing some form of a bad guy in a sense, for the right reasons though, trying to take down the evil corporation. You know, this is nothing really new, as far as most people know about this already. So, but it definitely plays more up to how both sides, you know, got some gray. You know, both sides are making tough decisions, but you see the ripple effects on both sides in terms of like what people are going through. You know, Shinra employees, some of them are like, they got families they're concerned about, you know, and they're just oblivious to what Shinra's really up to. You know, they're just thinking, okay, it's cool, you know, nifty job or whatever, cool job to have to support their family and this and that. They're not realizing what Shinra's really, you know, got going on behind closed doors. So, and they're just, you know, doing it, and they feel bad too for what's going on as far as the plate, you know, I can't say too much on that, sorry. As far as what's going on down for the slums like that, and, you know, how things are being affected in the world of Midgar. It's so good. Like I said, from graphics, presentation, visuals, top notch. That's another reason why I was giving this game like a 10 out of 10 initially and stuff like that. Now my personal feelings about it. Character design, animations, you know, battle system. Oh god, the gameplay mechanics. Let's get into that next. You know, the battle system is so good for the most part. I do have a few gripes about it, but for the most part, it's very fluid, very smooth. You know, a nice blend of real-time action mixed with some turn-based, because you can go into battle settings and set up shortcuts to make battles a little bit more quicker in terms of like character turns, stuff like that. But you can also slow it down too, you know, to get that nice little slow-mo turn-based, almost feel like the Matrix a little bit. To a degree, and that's very nice too, because it helps you strategize, because there's so many times where, you know, once I got to the hang of things, basically I'm switching the characters right after I have them do an ability. Like I'm switching like every few seconds or so, like, okay, let me go to Cloud real quick, have him do this, boop, go over to freaking Tifa real quick, okay, have her do this, then boop, go over to freaking Barrett real quick, okay, I need Barrett, you need to do this real quick. Like in my head it's like it's just so crazy. Like it might seem a little jarring at first or nerve-wracking at first, but like that first hour of gameplay kind of just gets used to that battle system and the mechanics of it's like that. It doesn't change too drastically from there, mostly stays the same, and it's just a lot of fun though. And then once you get the hang of it, you're just like, oh my god, you're in love. Now the gripes I do have though is the air combat could be a little bit better. Like the air combat is disappointing in some areas, like because, you know, for example, you know, you got Cloud and Tifa, and if you got Barrett with you, all that part of your three, you know, Cloud and Tifa, yeah, they can do some air combat, but it's kind of weird and a little clunky in terms of like the camera and stuff like that. Whereas Barrett, you know, he's a ranged attacker, so it's like whether an enemy is in the air flying around or on the ground, he's good to go. But Cloud, Tifa, for example, you know, it's like the best things to use for them, it seems like, is magic to attack with their enemies with in the air versus doing melee attacks in the air. So I'm hoping for the sequel they improve upon that. Please do that. So like critically, it kind of loses, that's part of it losing a point for me, is the camera angles and battles often, and just how the air combat is when you're playing with a non-ranged attacker character. Aerith and Barrett are fine, you know, they do ranged attacks, no problem. Good. Summons. Now this isn't really too much of a spoiler thing, because we knew about this kind of heading into the game. You know, summons appear early in this game, obviously because of this being a remake and the first part of Remake. So I like and dislike the way they handle summons. Basically, I like the way they handle summons because, for example, should I watch this? Maybe I should. Yes, you should. I like the way they handle summons and the aspect of like there were times where I took a hard hit, HP got low, and then the summoning gauge starts to activate or build up, or it starts to build up when I stagger an enemy, and that's really cool. The part I don't really like though is you don't really have too much control over that, summoning gauge that builds up. It's like the game just kind of chooses when that's supposed to happen, whereas in other versions of Final Fantasy games, usually or mostly, you once you're able to get summons activated or get some summons, you can summon them in pretty frequently, or you have more control over it. And I'm just talking about the summoning aspect. I'm not talking about actually like controlling their moves as far as what they do, even though this game tackles that pretty well too. You do need ATB gauges for your summons to do certain actions like 1 bar or 2 bars, which is fine. And then once the bar reaches like empty, basically your summon does its like ultimate move and then leaves. And I'm fine with that because they do treat summons in this game kind of like a guest character in the battle that you don't really have to control or worry about trying to use strategic moves and stuff like that with them, and that part's fine to me. It's more so just about how you summon them in, and I hope they address that in the sequels to make those a little bit more better and efficient in terms of like have that be an extra strategy to use in battle more so, on top of like switching between characters and stuff like that. So other than that, I got no gripes about the battle mechanics and battle system. It's fantastic. Love it. We talked about visuals, we talked about music, we talked about the gameplay, story and characters, the character development in this game. Oh my god, such a great job. Definitely much better than the original because of the voice actors and stuff like that. And there's so many times, there's maybe not so many times, but there's definitely quite a bit of times where I got emotionally wrecked. I ain't gonna lie, I was tearing up. I ain't gonna lie. And there's a particular part that got me probably the most. And when you go to the original, and you're just reading dialogue, it's not as impactful because you're just reading the dialogue. Whereas here, you got these great animations, these great character models, and then on top of that, you got these great voice actors that are portraying these characters so well. That's like, oh my god, I feel for them. I feel for what they're going through, and that's amazing. I love games that do that. I haven't, only other games that I in recent memory that have done this to me, I would say for Final Fantasy wise, the last game that was kind of like an emotional wreck for me was Final Fantasy X, my first true Final Fantasy game I ever like fully beat and did everything in. But as far as more recent memory, I would say probably Last of Us, because that got me too. As far as get me teary-eyed like that. So, and I love stories like that. I'm not ashamed of it. Shoot, I love watching movies. I love playing games with great stories that get me involved and attached to characters like that. It's freaking awesome. So let's see, with that said, I don't know if there's too much else to touch on other than like, pacing was fairly good. There was some filler stuff in terms of side missions, but majority of the side missions were worth it though. They offered great rewards that usually helped you in the game overall, more times than not. There were a few silly ones here and there that probably like, it's like, really, did you really need to put this in here, Square? So, but it doesn't really hold the game back. It really doesn't. And most of them, like I said, really add to the game. Most of them are meaningful side quests you can do. There's not really a need to grind in this game either, which is great. I've not played hard mode yet, but basically hard mode is set up to, get your characters to low 50 ASAP, help you level up the rest of your materia, weapons, etc. ASAP. Set up to play through that hard mode, new game plus, basically, and experience that. And plus, you can't do everything on the first player anyway. I love how they got it set up to where they encourage you and want you to play through it again, so that way you go back and catch things you might have missed on your first playthrough, because there is certain stuff you can't do in your first playthrough, and I don't think every side quest is available on your first playthrough, and certain items are hold off or where you can't get until your second playthrough in hard mode and stuff like that. So I think that's a great idea that they did implement it in here. So That way, you know, you go back to it a second time and the story kind of sticks into you more, and you kind of know some things you noticed the first time, stuff like that. So yeah, music fantastic, gameplay, characters, story. They didn't, you know, change up too much, honestly, with story and storytelling in this game. Fantastic. I would say about 90% of this was core, you know, original FF7. There are a lot of people mad about the ending though. The ending is a bold, controversial ending. I'm not gonna say more than that, but that is, I actually love that they went that route the way they did, instead of having to be like 100% one-to-one, you know, full on the same story remake or anything like that. Because I feel like the ending, with it being so bold and controversial and risky, you know, opens up some things that they can do for the sequel. So, and I'll get more in depth about that in my spoiler talk that I'll post up here on YouTube soon. So, but yeah, personal feelings, 10 out of 10. Critically, I gotta give this like a 9, just because of the negatives as far as like combat with the summons, the way they, you know, function, and the camera and the air combat, and a little bit of the, you know, filler stuff in terms of side quests and whatnot. But mostly this game is fantastic. Level design, I loved it for the most part. There were some levels that kind of looked like they didn't really fully put too much detail in the background like they should have, but I give it a pass on that because most everything was just excellent. And yeah, I do recommend this. But yeah, freaking incredible, and I cannot wait to play it some more.